The WNBA might have just broken its biggest star, and her own brother is calling out the league. If you're a Caitlin Clark fan, you might want to sit down for this one, because what happened last night in Boston isn't just another injury story. It's the breaking point of a season that's spiraling out of control. Before we dive into the devastating footage that has everyone talking, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to stay updated on the latest WNBA drama, because trust me, this situation is far from over. Picture this: 40 seconds left in the game. Indiana Fever up by 8 against the Connecticut Sun. Caitlin Clark drives down the court, makes a beautiful bounce pass to Kelsey Mitchell for an easy layup. But then something happens that nobody saw coming. As she's running back, she suddenly grabs her right groin, and the look on her face tells you everything you need to know. This isn't just pain, this is defeat. What happens next is something we've never seen from Caitlin Clark, the player who kept her composure through the most intense college basketball moments, who handled the pressure of being the #1 draft pick, who's been carrying the weight of an entire league on her shoulders. She completely breaks down. She walks to the other end of the court, puts her head against the basket stanchion, and for the first time in her professional career, we see tears. Not the tears of losing a championship game, but the tears of someone who's reached their absolute limit. But here's where the story takes an even darker turn. Within minutes of Clark leaving the court in tears, her brother Colin drops a bombshell on social media that would rack up over 100,000 views before he mysteriously deleted it. His message? Make no mistake, this is on the reffing. And suddenly, what looked like just another injury becomes something much bigger. A family member publicly calling out the WNBA for failing to protect its biggest star. Let's talk about what Colin Clark saw that made him so angry he'd risk his sister's reputation to speak out. Throughout the entire game against Connecticut, the referees allowed a level of physicality that would make 90s NBA players blush. We're talking hand checking, body checking, and plays that in any other sport would be called assault. The most egregious: Sophie Cunningham getting literally thrown out of bounds with no call, then getting elbowed in the neck with referees claiming she flopped. They said she flopped. This is the same Sophie Cunningham who had to step in and defend Clark earlier this season because nobody else would. But the moment that really set everything off happened in the third quarter. Referee Michael Price, and yes, we're naming names here, said something to Caitlin Clark that made her absolutely lose it. I'm talking about the kind of anger where your own assistant coach has to physically hold you back. Clark was screaming, "That's just rude, grow up," and threatening to call the league office. What did this referee say that pushed one of the most composed players in basketball to the brink? We still don't know, but whatever it was crossed a line that shouldn't exist between officials and players. Here's the kicker: this isn't Clark's first groin injury this season, it's not even her second. The player who never missed a single game in college, who played all 40 games as a rookie, has now missed 10 games in just her second season. 9 regular season games plus the Commissioner's Cup final. And get this, the previous groin injury was on her left side. This new one, it's on the right. That's not just bad luck, folks. When injuries start jumping from one side of your body to the other, it means something is mechanically wrong. It means your body is compensating for damage that hasn't properly healed. The timing couldn't be worse. All-Star Weekend is in Indianapolis, Caitlin's home court. She was just announced for the three-point contest. She's the top vote-getter and team captain. This was supposed to be her moment to shine in front of her home crowd, and now she might not even be able to play. Can you imagine the disappointment of those fans who bought tickets specifically to see their hometown hero? But let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture here. Caitlin Clark is shooting 6% from three-point range in road games this season. 6%! This is a player who was known for her long-range bombing in college. Something is clearly wrong, and it goes beyond just having a shooting slump. When you're constantly worried about getting injured, when you're playing through pain, when you can't trust your body, of course your shot is going to suffer. The conspiracy theorists are having a field day with this, and honestly, can you blame them? Every time Indiana plays Connecticut, something controversial happens. There's always excessive physicality, there's always questionable officiating, and now there's always injuries. It's like the Sun have made it their mission to rough up the Fever's star player, and the refs are just letting it happen. What's even more frustrating is that this isn't just a Caitlin Clark problem. Angel Reese has spoken out about the officiating, Kelsey Plum has called it out. Paige Bueckers literally said she plays defense differently in the WNBA because she knows how much more she can get away with fouling. Coach Stephanie White has been fined for criticizing refs. The players are screaming for help, and the league is responding with silence. Think about this from a business perspective for a second. Caitlin Clark is quite literally the face of the WNBA right now. She brings in record viewership, sells out arenas, and has introduced millions of new fans to women's basketball. And the league is allowing her to get beat up game after game. It's like the NBA letting teams hammer Michael Jordan without consequences. It's not just bad for the player, it's bad for business. The injury report now lists Clark as out for the upcoming game against the New York Liberty. That's right, she's already been ruled out less than 24 hours later. The Fever are trying to spin it as being cautious, but let's be real. When you're dealing with your third or fourth soft tissue injury of the season, cautious might mean shutting down for weeks, not days. Indiana has somehow managed to stay above 500 this season at 12-10, but they're just 8-5 with Clark in the lineup. For a team that was supposed to be building around their generational talent, having her available for barely half the games is a disaster. And here's the thing. Groin injuries for basketball players are particularly nasty. You need that area for every lateral movement, every quick cut, every defensive slide. It's not something you can just tape up and play through. What's really heartbreaking is seeing how this is affecting Clark emotionally. The tears on the bench weren't just about physical pain. This is a 23-year-old who's been carrying impossible expectations since before she was even drafted. She's been the model of professionalism, handling the pressure with grace, never complaining publicly about the treatment she receives. But everyone has a breaking point, and we might have just witnessed hers. The deleted tweet from her brother speaks volumes. Colin Clark saw his sister crying on the bench and couldn't stay silent anymore. He watched the replays of Sophie Cunningham getting body slammed with no call, of defenders hand-checking his sister all game, of referee Michael Price apparently saying something so inappropriate that Caitlin had to be physically restrained. And he snapped. The fact that he deleted it later doesn't matter. The message was sent. The Clark family has had enough. So, what happens now? Best case scenario, Clark misses a few games, comes back for All-Star Weekend, and finishes the season healthy. But that's starting to feel like wishful thinking. When you're dealing with multiple soft tissue injuries that keep recurring and even jumping to different parts of your body, you're looking at a potential chronic issue. This could affect her entire career if it's not handled properly. The Fever need to make some hard decisions. Do they shut down their franchise player for an extended period to ensure she's fully healthy? Do they limit her minutes for the rest of the season? Do they completely overhaul her training regimen? Whatever they decide, it better involve bringing in the best medical staff money can buy. We're talking about NBA-level treatment, those German specialists Kobe used to see, whatever it takes. But the biggest question is for the WNBA itself. How many more games like this before something catastrophic happens? How many more players need to speak out before the officiating standards change? How many more franchise players need to miss games due to preventable injuries before the league takes action? Because right now, it feels like we're watching a disaster in slow motion. The saddest part of all this? We should be talking about Caitlin Clark's incredible passing ability, her court vision, her leadership in turning around a struggling franchise. Instead, we're talking about injuries, bad officiating, and a player pushed to her emotional breaking point. This isn't the story anyone wanted to tell about year 2 of the Caitlin Clark era. As we head into All-Star Weekend with the biggest stars' participation in doubt, the WNBA needs to take a long, hard look in the mirror. You've got players publicly calling out officials, coaches getting fined for speaking the truth, and now family members feeling compelled to defend their loved ones on social media. This isn't sustainable. Something has to change, and it has to change now. For Caitlin Clark, the immediate future is uncertain. Will she play in the All-Star game in front of her home crowd? Will she need extended time off to finally heal properly? Will this pattern of injuries affect her long-term career prospects? We don't have answers to any of these questions yet. What we do know is that last night in Boston, we saw something break. Whether it was just Clark's composure or something more fundamental about her relationship with the league remains to be seen. The WNBA wanted Caitlin Clark to be the face of women's basketball. Well, congratulations, you got your wish. But that face is now streaked with tears, and her brother is calling you out for failing to protect her. If that doesn't wake up the league office, nothing will. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because we'll be following this story closely. Comment below with your thoughts. Do you think the refs are targeting certain players? Should Clark sit out until she's 100% healthy? And most importantly, what needs to change to protect the league's stars? This conversation is far from over, and your voice matters in pushing for change. Until next time, this has been your source for the real story behind the headlines.